Hip-hop's more than music. It's a universe, full of raw moments, wild twists, and stories that sound too crazy to be real. From hilarious mishaps to jaw-dropping drama, the culture's history is packed with the unexpected. Today, we're diving into the story of a no-limit soldier who went from platinum plaques to life in prison. This is the case of C Murder. You can't talk about the late 90s hip-hop without shouting out No Limit Records, which was founded by Master P and included P's younger brothers, rapper C Murder and Silkk the Shocker. Born Corey Miller, C Murder was the street voice of No Limit. His 1998 debut, Life or Death? Platinum. His follow-up, Bossalinie, 175,000 copies sold first week. I mean, the dude was living it. Fame, money, respect. But what happens when the music fades and the headlines get darker? How does someone go from the top of the charts to fighting for his life behind bars? Well, for starters, the night that put C Murder behind bars for the rest of his life wasn't the first time he pulled a trigger in a public place. You see, in 2001, C let one shot off in the direction of the owner and bouncer at Club Rags in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, after the bouncer refused to let C into a nightclub with the firearm. Surveillance footage shows the struggle break out after C Murder enters the club. He fires a shot and attempts another, but thankfully his gun jams. Then under a year later, another club, another incident. C Murder was at the Platinum Club in Harvey, Louisiana, where he encountered 16-year-old fan Steve Thomas. Now, the details of how the argument started are scarce, but whatever was said between the two, it quickly escalated. C Murder and his entourage allegedly beat down 16-year-old Steve Thomas. Then, before reportedly standing over him and firing the fatal shot, the rapper yelled out, "Do you know who the I am?" And just hours later, C Murder was charged with Thomas's murder as well as disturbing the peace. Fast forward to September 2003, C Murder was convicted of second-degree murder in the Thomas case. However, he was granted a new trial after it was discovered that prosecutors improperly withheld criminal background information on 3 of the witnesses. A second trial was originally set for April 2004, however, it would not happen either, leading to a 5-year gap between that time and when C Murder's murder trial finally got underway years later. C Murder was in prison until March of 2006 after he was arrested for the Thomas murder. He was released on a $500,000 bond and placed under house arrest, using this opportunity to promote his then untitled album and his novel Death Around the Corner. Finally, in August 2009, C Murder's second trial for the murder of Steve Thomas began. During proceedings, Thomas's father, George Thomas, spoke about his son's fandom of C Murder before the incident. Steve Thomas's brother, also named George Thomas, spoke about the case over the years too. He says that it was very hard for their father to get over what happened.
That's how I feel with the bitterness and the anger and hatred. And for me, I think that's what happened to my dad.
A bouncer who claimed he witnessed the shooting also testified in court, but later admitted in an affidavit that detectives pressured him to lie under oath, and he feared facing consequences if he didn't.
Because I was looking at serious time. I was looking at 10 years. That's what they was gonna try to give me.
Ultimately, prosecutors charged one of C Murder's associates, Dwayne Cobbins, with witness tampering for threatening to use force to influence a member of the original trial jury. C Murder was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison after the jury returned a 10-2 guilty verdict. The trial, though, was fraught with accusations on both sides, with the defense pointing to a lack of physical evidence and the fallibility of eyewitness accounts. During sentencing, George Thomas made a heartfelt statement to the court regarding the loss of his son, reading in part, "I'm not rejoicing. I feel bad for the convicted's family, but at least they can see him. What have we got but a gravesite and a photograph?" Still, questions remained about the trial. One juror, Mary Jacobs, said she was bullied by other jurors into changing her vote from acquittal to guilty. But she only mentioned this weeks after the trial and not before C Murder's conviction. Then we have another juror who backed up Jacobs' claims. And if just one more person had voted not guilty, a mistrial would have followed. As a result of Mary Jacobs' notion about deliberation, the NAACP stepped in and asked for an investigation. In the decade that followed, appeals were filed, witnesses began flipping, and C Murder continued to serve his life sentence. However, he also continued his music career. The rapper released 3 albums, including 2009's Calliope Click Volume 1, which peaked at number 68 on the Billboard Rap and R&B charts. On his 2015 LP, Ain't No Heaven in the Pen, which was recorded from behind bars, C Murder raps about the trials and tribulations of being a black man in America and the struggle of incarcerated folks staying in communication with loved ones on the outside. In 2018, C Murder revealed he had gone on a hunger strike to bring awareness to his case and to protest the conditions he and other prisoners faced. The statement claimed that the warden overseeing the prison was previously arrested for rape and has an abundance of complaints against him, including sexual harassment, racism, and assault. C. Murder also uses his Instagram account, which his family started, and continues to update to promote other people he believes were victims of an unjust criminal justice system. But also in 2018, things seem to be looking up for C. Murder. 2 witnesses publicly stated they lied in their testimony, allegedly pressured by cops. Kenneth Jordan, one of the testifying witnesses, even appeared on the USA series Investigation Discovery Reasonable Doubt and said straight up he was threatened by investigators with jail time if he didn't point the finger at C.
You know, he was already on the ground, defenseless, like he couldn't defend himself. He was just laying there. I was just standing there and heard a gunshot.
Did you see the guy who shot him?
And he was dark-skinned, real dark. So I knew he wasn't C. Murder.
That same year, C. Murder's attorney, Philip C. Hamilton, said that the only evidence presented by the prosecution was circumstantial. There's no physical evidence. You're not hearing anything about them having found a gun. There was nothing about any DNA. There was no surveillance video. There was no confession. This all boiled down to the witness statements of these 2 primary individuals who testified to having seen the shooting. In July of 2018, Master P held a rally at Xavier University of Louisiana in an effort to bring awareness of the new witness confessions and to advocate for his brother's freedom.
There's a lot of innocent people that is incarcerated. Corbin told me, say, if somebody committed a crime, they should be incarcerated. I mean, he's a tough guy. You know, he's not perfect. None of us are perfect, but he told me, he said, big brother, you know I made a lot of mistakes. I named myself what I named myself. I did this, I've been convicted for my music. But you know what? That can't stop an innocent man. And music is not a crime, and naming yourself is not some crime.
A year after the witnesses said they were pressured into naming C as a trigger man, Judge Stephen Enright Jr. ruled that the rapper hadn't met his burden of proof for post-conviction relief and denied C's request for a new trial. By 2020, C. Murder's case had new eyes. Kim Kardashian and singer Monica, who used to date C, started campaigning for his release. Big brother Master P gave them props, but didn't sound too hopeful. P himself had previously advocated for his brother's release, and back in March of this year, even posted a photo on Instagram of him visiting C in prison around his birthday. In 2025, C. Murder is still locked up. His latest appeal filed in 2023 was denied a year later by the United States Court of Appeals for the 5th Circuit. Currently, he has a podcast called The Corey Miller Diaries, launched this past January. During an episode of the podcast this past April, C. Murder relayed how crushed he is to still be behind bars after all these years. So here's the big question. Should C. Murder receive the benefit of a 3rd trial? Should his case at least be re-examined by the powers that be to make sure all I's were dotted and T's were crossed? If it's determined that he's not Steve Thomas's killer, then who was? You see, Miller's defense contended that it was someone else at the nightclub. So let us know what you think in the comments. Visit the XXL store to buy merch. Hit subscribe to see more videos from XXL.